So by 2026, Gartner is predicting that 85% of your customer service interactions are going to be handled by AI.
Handled, right, not just routed.
Exactly. Not just routed by a machine so a human can talk to them, handled. Like completely resolved from start to finish.
It's a staggering volume of interactions to just hand over to an automated system. We are looking at a fundamental rewiring of how businesses communicate with the market.
Right. And if you are a European CTO or a business leader listening to this deep dive right now, the entire front door to your enterprise is about to be completely rebuilt.
Oh, absolutely. It's happening fast.
Which is exactly why the mission of today's deep dive is just so critical. We're looking at a stack of exclusive AetherLink market research and some really fascinating case studies focused on Dubai.
Yeah, the Dubai data is incredible.
It really is. And the goal here is to figure out how the future of this whole AI-driven customer service landscape is already being built.
Yeah.
And, more importantly, how it's being battle-tested using advanced Aetherbott solutions.
Right, because you really have to look at Dubai not just as like a wealthy market, but as this high-pressure testing ground for global AI.
Okay, but I have to ask, why Dubai? Like, if a European multinational wants to stress test a new AI customer architecture, you'd think London or Berlin or maybe Amsterdam will be the traditional incubators. What makes the UAE the ultimate crucible for this?
Well, it really comes down to demographic complexity and, frankly, the sheer altitude of consumer expectations there.
The altitude, like just how demanding the customers are.
Exactly. I mean, the research shows technology investments surging by 45% annually in the region.
Wait, 45% every year?
Every single year, with 78% of local companies planning massive AI deployments right now.
That's huge.
It is. And it's because Dubai has this highly transient, incredibly diverse expatriate and tourist population. You have over 200 nationalities living and working there.
Right, so the language barrier alone is a huge factor.
Oh, massive.
Yeah.
You have massive international commerce colliding with sky-high premium service expectations.
So it is essentially like the ultimate stress test for an AI.
Precisely. If an Aetherbott solution can succeed in a high-demand environment where a customer might seamlessly blend English, Arabic, and French slang into a single voice note.
Just to complain about a complex banking error or something.
Right. If it can handle that, it can scale anywhere in the European market without breaking a sweat.
Okay, so let's look at the actual architecture replacing these legacy systems. Because obviously a standard press one for sales chatbot is not going to survive in that kind of environment.
No, it would get destroyed.
Right. And the research draws a very hard line between old reactive bots and this new wave of agentic AI.
Yeah, the shift from reactive to agentic is the whole ballgame.
So the analogy I like to use is, think of a traditional chatbot like an unhelpful receptionist. They just hand you a static menu and say, pick one. And if your specific problem isn't on the menu, well, they just stare at you.
Or like a train on a track. It can only go exactly where the rails were laid by a programmer. It hits a predetermined stop, and that's it.
Right. But agentic AI, on the other hand, is like a proactive executive assistant. It actually solves the problem while you wait.
Exactly. It operates much more like a self-driving off-road vehicle. You give it a GPS destination, a goal, and it figures out its own path to get there.
So it's not just fetching pre-written text.
No, not at all. It's an autonomous agent. It coordinates across your internal business systems. It makes API calls to different databases. It even writes and executes its own microscripts in real time to solve the user's problem.
Okay, give me a concrete example of that off-road capability from the sources, because that sounds very sci-fi.
Sure. Well, the research highlights a Dubai-based financial services firm. They deployed these Aetherbott autonomous agents to handle customer onboarding and KYC verification.
KYC, like know your customer.
Right, the mandatory identity checks for banking.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate here for a second. Speed is great, but as a CTO, my blood pressure spikes when you say the words autonomous agent and KYC verification in the same sentence.
Oh, I totally get that.
Because, if I let an AI loose in my CRM to handle secure financial compliance, what happens when the underlying language model hallucinates and, approves a fraudulent passport? How are they mitigating that risk?
Well, that is the exact concern that separates enterprise AI from just a regular consumer chatbot. The Aetherbot isn't using a language model to probabilistically guess the validity of a document.
Okay, then what is it doing?
The language model is merely the orchestrator. So when a customer uploads a passport, the agentic AI securely calls a deterministic optical character recognition API to extract the text.
Got it. So it uses a specialized tool for reading the image.
Exactly. And then it cross-references that extracted data against secure government databases and international watch lists. The AI's job is simply to manage the workflow, interpret the results of those secure database checks, and then communicate them back to the user.
Ah, okay. So it is pulling the levers of secure traditional software rather than trying to, like, invent the answers itself.
Yes, precisely. And because it can pull those levers instantly, simultaneously, without waiting for a human compliance officer to open an email, they reduce the KYC processing time from a matter of days down to literally minutes.
Wow. From days to minutes, which completely changes the user experience. But I do have to wonder, do consumers actually want to be talking to a machine for their banking?
It's a fair question.
Because whenever I hear about automated support, I immediately picture a frustrated customer stuck in a loop, just angrily typing "speak to a human" over and over again.
Right, but the data strongly suggests we need to update that assumption. According to the industry surveys in the AetherLink research, 51% of consumers now explicitly prefer instant AI interactions over traditional support channels.
Wait, really? Over half prefer the machine.
Well, they prefer the resolution. The frustration you're describing comes from the old train on a track model, where the bot is really just an obstacle preventing you from reaching the human who can actually solve the problem.
Right, the bot is just playing defense.
Exactly. But when an agentic AI clears a KYC verification in 3 minutes and allows the user to instantly access their new bank account, the consumer loves it. They do not care that it wasn't a human. They just care that the fiction is gone.
Okay, yeah, that makes total sense. So if it's securely executing these workflows, we have to look at where the customer is actually interacting with it. Because in Europe, enterprise customer service still leans pretty heavily on proprietary web portals.
Or endless email chains.
Right. Or those little chat bubbles you have to click on the bottom corner of a company's homepage.
Yeah.
But the sources make it very clear that is not how Dubai operates.
Not at all. Dubai runs on WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. For everything.
For everything. It is the dominant digital ecosystem for everything from ordering groceries to buying luxury real estate. And this requires a massive shift to multimodal Aetherbots. We are no longer talking about simple text-based menus.
Right. And I want to break down how multimodal actually works mechanically. Because if a customer is communicating on WhatsApp, they aren't just typing.
No, they're sending everything.
Right. The sources detail how these bots are processing text, voice notes, images, and video all in one single conversational thread. So is the AI just running like a quick speech-to-text transcription on the voice note and reading that?
In older architectures, yes. And that caused massive latency and a huge loss of context.
Because it's translating steps.
Exactly. If you use a separate model to transcribe audio and another model to describe an image, you lose the tone of voice, you lose the spatial relationship in the image, and it just takes way too long.
So what's the alternative?
A true native multimodal model. It processes the raw audio frequencies in the image pixels in the exact same neural network space as the text.
Wow. Okay, so how does that look in practice for a business?
Take the AetherLink case study of a prominent Dubai real estate agency. A customer looking to rent a property was sending a photo of a specific villa style they liked, accompanied by an Arabic voice note saying, I want something with this kind of layout, but closer to the marina.
Okay, so the bot has to simultaneously understand the architectural features in the image,
Yep.
parse the spoken Arabic,
Right.
extract the geographic intent of the marina, and search the database all at once.
And it does all of that natively, within milliseconds. It then replies right there in the WhatsApp thread with 3 matching property listings.
That is wild.
And because the friction of switching apps or filling out web forms was completely removed, their customer satisfaction jumped 40%, and response times dropped by 65%.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the customer sending an Arabic voice note, which brings us to an incredibly dense part of the research native Arabic NLP, or natural language processing.
Oh, yeah. Arabic has incredible morphological complexity.
Yeah, it's totally different from English.
Entirely different. I mean, a single Arabic word can contain a prefix, a stem, and multiple suffixes, and they convey the tense, the subject, the object, and the possessive all at once.
In one word.
In one word. So
Yeah.
a standard AI model trained primarily on English data, if it's simply translated, will fail miserably at parsing that. Add in the right-to-left script, the difference between modern standard Arabic used in formal documents and the deep regional dialects used in casual voice notes. you have a massive engineering challenge.
So the analogy that comes to mind here is it's the difference between hiring a hyperlocal concierge who knows the specific street slang of the neighborhood
Oh, I like that.
versus, watching a tourist awkwardly read from a translation app on their phone. One builds trust instantly, and the other just creates immediate friction.
That distinction right there is the foundation of what the AetherLink research calls the cultural algorithm.
The cultural algorithm, that's a great term.
Right. Effective AI deployment in this region is not just about linguistic translation. It requires deep cultural adaptation at the algorithmic level.
But how exactly does an algorithm understand culture? I mean, are we just talking about advanced sentiment analysis?
No, it's much more structural than that. It is about adjusting operational parameters based on cultural context. The research provides this really fascinating breakdown of a Dubai-based e-commerce platform.
Okay, what did they do?
Well, they utilized Aethermind's strategy consulting to do a lot more than just translate their box language from English to Arabic. They fundamentally changed its behavior during the holy month of Ramadan.
Oh, wow. Walk me through the mechanics of that shift. Like, what actually changed in the code?
First, time-shifting logic. During Ramadan, observing Muslims are fasting during the day.
Right.
So a standard e-commerce bot sending a pushy buy now notification at 2 in the afternoon is culturally tone-deaf and highly ineffective.
Totally.
So the algorithm learned to suppress daytime engagement and shift its proactive outreach to 9 p.m. after iftar, when users were actually active and shopping.
That is brilliant. It just respects the user's reality.
Second, it shifted its tone. The language generation parameters were tweaked to move away from urgent, high-pressure sales pitches toward more community-focused, respectful greetings appropriate for the season.
That makes a huge difference.
It does. And finally, they integrated a specific API for local purchasing behaviors. The AI was trained to recognize a strong cultural preference for installment plans, so it proactively offered buy now, pay later options at checkout.
So it isn't just speaking the language. It is actually operating within the financial and social rhythms of the city.
Exactly. And by adapting to that cultural context, they saw a 28% spike in conversion rates among local customers compared to the generic model they ran previously.
28% just from cultural alignment. That's incredible. But, if we are building these hyper-smart, culturally fluid AI agents that are deeply embedded in secure customer transactions and financial APIs, the regulatory alarms must be ringing.
Loudly.
Because reading through the AetherLink sources, I was genuinely surprised by the focus on the European Union's AI Act. I mean, that regulation is not even fully enforceable until 2025 or 2026. Why are enterprises in the Middle East hyper-focused on EU compliance laws today?
It is a highly strategic play. You have to remember, Dubai is a massive regional hub for European multinationals.
Right, that makes sense.
If a company wants to serve European expatriates or cross-border clients, they eventually have to comply with the EU AI Act anyway. But the companies deploying AetherDV solutions are not viewing this compliance as a regulatory burden. They are treating it as a competitive moat.
Interesting. Explain how adding regulatory red tape becomes a competitive advantage. Because usually, businesses hate that.
Well, the EU AI Act mandates strict requirements for high-risk AI systems. You have to maintain immutable audit trails. You have to ensure human oversight for sensitive interactions. You must have a transparent risk management system, and you have to clearly disclose to the user that they are interacting with an AI.
Which is exactly what we were talking about earlier with the KYC verification, right? Having a deterministic paper trail for every API call the AI makes.
Yes, exactly. If you are operating in high-stakes sectors like finance, healthcare, or luxury real estate, proving your AI architecture is transparent, auditable, and secure is the ultimate way to win customer trust.
You're basically saying, look, we're doing this the safest way possible.
Right. You are future-proofing your enterprise infrastructure while your competitors are still struggling to build basic data governance frameworks.
Okay, let's ground this in the hard numbers. Because the research provides a massive enterprise-grade case study that brings all of this, the multimodal WhatsApp integration, the cultural algorithm, the compliance all together. We are looking at a leading Dubai luxury real estate developer.
Yes. And they manage an AED 50 billion property portfolio.
50 billion.
That is a massive scale of premium assets.
And before AI, their customer service infrastructure was essentially drowning. They were facing over 300 daily inquiries across multiple time zones, dealing with huge language barriers from international buyers. But the metric that really stood out to me was their customer satisfaction score, which was a very mediocre 6.2 out of 10.
Yeah, and when you are selling luxury penthouses, a 6.2 satisfaction score is an absolute crisis. Their human agents were overwhelmed. It was taking over 18 hours just to respond to a new lead.
And in 18 hours, an impulse buyer looking at a luxury property has already moved on to a competitor.
Gone. Exactly. So they deployed a fully compliant multimodal Aetherbott architecture. It integrated directly into WhatsApp, offered seamless multilingual support, and had a deterministic API handoff to their CRM.
And what were the results?
The 90-day turnaround is staggering. They fully automated 72% of their daily inquiry volume.
So 72% of interactions required zero human intervention.
Zero. And the customer satisfaction score skyrocketed from 6.2 to 8.7 out of 10.
Wow. And they improved lead conversion by 23%, right?
It did. And this is where we get into the golden ROI ratio for AI implementation. When a CTO looks at a system like this, the immediate thought is usually cost reduction.
Right. How much money are we saving on headcount?
Exactly. And yes, they saved AED 2.1 million annually in customer service operations, primarily through reduced overtime and reallocating salaries. The data shows that about 60% of the ROI from these implementations comes from those efficiency cost savings.
But the other 40% comes from revenue enhancement.
Yes.
How does an AI customer service bot actually capture new revenue? I mean, it's not a salesperson.
It does it by eliminating that 18-hour delay. Look at it this way. When a high-net-worth individual sends a WhatsApp message at 11 p.m. asking about the square footage of a penthouse and whether they can pay in crypto, a human agent is asleep.
Right.
But the Aetherbott replies in 3 seconds. It instantly qualifies the lead, gathers the necessary preliminary documentation, and locks in the buyer's engagement while their intent is at its absolute highest.
It just captures revenue that was previously slipping through the cracks of human delay.
Exactly.
So we have covered a lot of ground today. The technological shift to agentic systems, the mechanical realities of native multimodal models, the absolute necessity of the cultural algorithm, and the hard ROI of compliant architecture. Bringing all of this data back to a single, actionable focus for the business leader listening. What is your absolute core lesson here?
For me, the most critical takeaway from this research is the concept of workforce augmentation as opposed to workforce replacement.
Augmentation, not replacement.
Right. The most successful enterprises deploying these Aetherbott systems are not firing their sales staff or their customer service teams en masse.
But what are the humans doing if the AI is handling 72% of the traffic?
They are being redeployed to handle high-value, complex, emotional negotiations. The AI clears out the routine traffic, the document verification, the scheduling, the basic data retrieval. This frees up your human talent to step in when a transaction actually requires empathy or nuanced persuasion or complex problem solving that falls outside standard parameters.
So it's the evolution of the workforce.
Exactly. It ensures that expensive human talent is utilized exclusively where it actually matters, driving loyalty and closing high-stakes deals.
That makes a lot of sense. For me, my number one takeaway is the absolute danger of waiting for the market to settle. We are seeing a massive convergence of technologies right now. Generative AI, multimodal processing, agentic workflows, and stringent compliance frameworks are all intersecting.
And it is not a future concept. The infrastructure is available right now.
Right. The organizations that launch phased rollouts today, utilizing the AetherDV pipelines in 2024 and 2025, they're going to have an untouchable competitive advantage by the time Gartner's 2026 prediction becomes reality.
Oh, without a doubt.
If you wait for the technology to feel safe, you're going to be left behind by competitors who have already trained their AI architectures on years of real-world customer interactions and cultural data.
It really forces a total reevaluation of your customer touchpoints. I mean, if the diagnostic dashboard of your customer service is being rewritten and an AI agent is about to become the primary face, voice, and brain of your enterprise, how do you architect that system to ensure it reflects your brand's unique soul and doesn't just recite its rulebook?
For more AI insights, visit etherlink.ai.